What's the title worth? That bump at the end of the piece, the small print, those numbers and letters, they contain useful information. Now, I've been focusing on Beethoven's Sixth Symphony, so let's start there. Full title: Beethoven Pastoral Symphony No. 6 in F major, Op. 68. First part, composer's name, Beethoven Ludwig van Easy. Next, the genre of music. This tells you the type of music you're going to hear, in this case a symphony. The symphony is a work featuring a whole orchestra playing together. A concerto stars a solo instrument or instruments playing with or against an orchestra. The sonata features a solo instrument, sometimes accompanied by piano. Quartet, 4 instruments, a string quartet, 4 stringed instruments. You get the idea. The genre is giving us a lot of information about the music that's coming. Next to the genre, there's usually a number, which tells you something. This is Beethoven's Sixth Symphony. Here is Haydn's 106th Symphony. What does that tell you? Haydn wrote lots of symphonies. Beethoven, bless, never quite made it to double figures. Now, with this particular number comes a particular nickname, the Pastoral. I think of these nicknames the same way I do for royalty. It either means you're good, or bad. With music, it tends to just mean you're good. A name, an epithet sticks because it's used a lot, so it's a sign that a particular piece of music may have an importance beyond simply its numerical number. For example, Haydn's Symphony 104 has a nickname, the London. Haydn actually composed 12 symphonies in London, but the moniker, the London, is a hint that this one, in my honest opinion, is the best of them. Beethoven's ninth is known as the choral because they're singing in it. And his third, the Eroica, that's the heroic, after Napoleon, and, well, there's another whole video there. Anyway, you would assume that gets a nickname. Well, it does in Germany, where it's known as the Schicksal Symphony, the Fate Symphony. Here, it's known simply as the Fifth. In point of fact, the pastoral epithet originates from Beethoven himself, who entitled his work the Pastoral Symphony, or Recollections of Country Life. So it's a bit of a cheat, but the important thing is the nickname stuck, and that should tell you something of interest about the piece. Next, the letter, F major. That signals the key of the piece. A composer has a choice of 24 keys, 12 major, 12 minor, a choice which immediately tells you something about the piece. Music in a major key tends to be harmonically stable and therefore generally positive, happy, solid, grounded. Pieces in minor keys tend to be less harmonically stable and consequently sadder, bluer. Choice of key can tell us more about the music. F major is a rather mellow key. As the subdominant C major, it lies harmonically below our tonic. Now that's a subject that requires yet another video, but suffice it to say, F major is a key with a grounded mellowness, quite appropriate for Beethoven's jaunt in the country. Individual keys can also mean certain things for certain composers, and that gives us additional information. When Beethoven wanted to say something really serious, he tended to pick C minor. And Mozart had more of a thing for D minor. Next, and finally, comes the letter number salad at the end. Now this is cataloguing stuff. Here, Op. 68 stands for opus, Latin work, 68, i.e. Beethoven's 68th catalogued piece. Now this is useful. Opus 1 was Beethoven's first work, which he deemed catalogable, back in 1795, and his final catalogued work, 31 years later, was the string quartet, Opus 135. So Beethoven's works run from Opus 1 to 135. Opus 68 sits pretty much in the middle of his life, so odds are this is a middle period work, and bingo, the Pastoral Symphony is mid-period Beethoven. Group hug everyone. Anyhow, this cataloguing system can vary. It works much better after Beethoven's time, with most composers using the opus system. But before Beethoven, well, those composers weren't cataloguing their work for posterity as they went along. So it was often the job of scholars and musical sleuths to do the cataloguing after a composer's death. Thomas Kuchel was the man who ended up cataloguing Mozart's works shortly after the composer's death, and Kuchel, or at least his initial K, has since become the cataloguing system itself. With Bach it gets a bit more difficult. The catalogue system, BWV, well, that comes from the 1950s, and it sounds logical enough, only the system works by genre, not chronology, and even the genres, the sections aren't necessarily chronological. Anyway, there you go. What's in a title? Potentially lots. See you next video. Please like and subscribe.